from 1 minute to 1 minute and 4 seconds, there's this weird moment I cannot stop looking at. There's these two guys in the back, and it looks like they were told to act like they're struggling and arguing, and it just looks like the one dude is giving him the roughest massage in the world. This is the weirdest instructions they gave for a background stunt fight. I'm like, this guy's not getting stabbed. He's not getting choked. It looks like he's just getting the most insane shoulder rub in the world.
He's getting the insane shoulder rub, and the other guy's rushing to grab the other guy's butt before he falls backwards off the bench.
This is what Quarter Crew has done in my mind. Now I look at whenever there's fights going on, I have a habit of like looking on
what are the stunt people
at the
doing?
other people around me, like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy, they're doing, what the hell are they doing? Hello there, Reject Nation. Happy freaking Halloween to ya. We're gonna watch the official trailer for Netflix's The Witcher. I'm wearing a Watchmen shirt because DC, Superman, Daredevil, Netflix, and this is what I was wearing earlier.
I've heard tales of your kind, Witcher.
Sleep.
You're a mutant. Created by magic. Roaming the continent.
We don't want your kind here.
Hunting monsters.
Cool.
I thought you'd have fangs or horns or something.
I had them
Whoa.
found down.
How'd they get away with nudity in a trailer?
People call you a monster too. Why not kill them?
Guess that I am what they say I am.
All of our choices draw our destinies closer. If he is out there, there is still hope. We have to find Geralt of Rivia.
Cool.
Don't judge me.
They say witches can't feel human emotion. What do you believe in?
The bathtub!
Evil is evil. Lesser. Greater. Middling. It's all the same.
Awesome.
Princess Cirilla is your destiny. I can't protect her. If you dismiss it, you will unleash true calamity upon us all.
This looks awesome.
I'll take that chance.
Oh.
Nice. Dude, it's so cool that that prequel series for Game of Thrones is finally being
Yep.
coming out this year, man.
Woo!
So
Kate
excited.
Blanchett looks badass as Henry Cavill. Wrong joke. Naomi Watts is the one who was in that series.
Yeah, but I laughed.
Hey!
This looks awesome. This looks incredible.
Who needs a Game of Thrones prequel series?
I'm on the second season of Spartacus right now, and then of course, you know, with Game of Thrones. So I've been, you know, like slowly getting into. I'm not that familiar with these like fantasy period shows. Spartacus isn't exactly fantasy, but it's kind of treated that way. This reminded me kind of a cool hybrid of both. It felt like some aesthetic designs, obviously, that are reminiscent of Game of Thrones. It's going to be reminiscent of any of these like period shows.
Yeah.
For people who watch like Rome or Tudors are going to be flashing into this stuff.
Yeah, it's period.
Yeah, exactly. Because of like the heavy emphasis on hyper stylized action, I flashed a little bit more to Spartacus. Henry Cavill looks freaking awesome as Geralt. I've never played the game,
You don't have to. This is based on the books.
but
They've said they're
read,
not borrowing.
I've
game
read all the
stuff.
books.
Yeah.
I read all the books though. I'm a huge book enthusiast.
Oh, totally. Love books.
Best books.
I got the best books. I've read them all.
I mean, it's funny though. I mean, if they're not basing it on the games at all, I watched this like compilation of cutscenes earlier today of like all these scenes of Geralt, and then watching Henry Cavill here, it seems so much like him from the video game. The delivery, the body language, the voice, everything about him just reminded me so much of the cutscenes I was watching. Like, damn, he brought this character to life. You know, I'm sure he probably mainly based it off the book, but it's kind of ironic that to watch the game footage, I'm like, oh, that reminded me a lot of the game, actually.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, they easily come out of each other. They're easily very related to each other. I just know that from what they've said, that the main bulk of the adaptation will come from the books. But they said they're gonna homage little Easter eggs to the game. They're open to that stuff. I mean, there's a bathtub with Henry Cavill in it, and there's a very prominent bathtub meme from these games. So, like, you know, I don't know if that's the exact reference there, but you know,
I think you're confused. I believe it's from BVS when Clark Kent gets into the bathtub with Amy Adams.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're
It's
homaging.
one of the sexiest scenes.
Make sure you get your facts
I
right,
know.
Joe, before you sound stupid on the internet. Okay?
I'm always stupid on the internet, but they said, I don't know if this is a chicken or egg situation, but they said Henry Cavill is a big fan of this series and has read all the books and played all the games and stuff. So, like, if that's true, that's pretty neat that he gets to step in and fill the shoes, because he does actually feel not just like, oh, this guy's hot right now. It actually does feel like pretty good casting from the look of this.
Yeah.
I do think that it's interesting. I mean, that Game of Thrones prequel series fell through, and then I see a trailer like this. This kind of reminds me of if Game of Thrones did not work so hard to crush its fantasy elements.
Where are you getting that idea?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It couldn't be the way the showrunners have recently started airing out all their dirty laundry about how much they didn't want to do all that fantasy stuff, and they weren't really sure how to run a show like this.
Well, I have a lot of football player cousins, and they wanted to watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, of course,
but they're not in that fantasy crap. So,
yeah, no. They're into politics, and
my tennis friends are going to be watching this show.
Definitely, this is a tennis player's show if ever I've seen one. Swords are a lot like tennis racks, you know, rackets.
Yeah, we made it work.
Totally, yes, and
interesting marketing choice with how they're doing this trailer, because I remember that when the other one came out, it's like it was a heavy emphasis on, like, you know, tone, introduction, scope, and whatnot. Of course, it's much more elaborated upon those things, and they kind of kept Henry Cavill a mystery. And he wasn't as prominently featured, but this really goes out of its way to go, no, this is his show. Yeah. He's the star of this series. You know, he's the main character, and he's going to be the protagonist that we're primarily following. You know, it was kind of interesting to see some of that little glimpse. For some reason, the one thing that didn't pop in my mind is, like, nudity.
Oh, yeah.
Sexual stuff.
There's, from what I understand, plenty to go around.
And I'm surprised we're able to, I mean, let's slow it down here. Is it not?
It's out of focus, it's pretty, you can tell. I mean, if you're, there's got to be some kids out there on the internet pausing and zooming in and being like, oh, forms, silhouettes.
This does not look like a TV show. Could easily be.
It looks like HBO.
It looks like Netflix has really stepped up their game with this, because this looks like full-blown awesome cinema. And the other thing too is I think it's good that they chose to do a show with something like this, because I feel like most of the fan base currently in our generation is from the video games. And not so much with the books. But either way, if you're adapting book or game, it's best to make that a TV show.
Oh yeah.
It's cool that they're not skimping out on the fantasy elements, because usually with movies that have this level of fantasy infused and it's war epic, tale, medieval vibes, they'll still work to make it PG-13 and not R.
Yes.
And this feels like it's gonna be a pretty hard R, which is necessary for the full impact of the series.
It's weird. I feel like R's are risky in the movies, but mature audience ratings are not as risky on TV, because I don't know, for some reason I feel like just pulp thrives on television. And the main thing from this trailer that I love the look of the scope. It definitely looks like Netflix has money. I mean, for as much trouble as everybody keeps talking about, they seem to be, at least right now, throwing down. And my main thing is just like, I want to see what the showrunners keep talking about, how at the core of all this, it's about these like 2 or 3 characters who are this misshapen little family who's going to be the core spirit of the show. That's something that I have no indication for as of either of these trailers.
I imagine it's a hard show to put a trailer together for.
Oh no, I totally. But the personal the personal protagonist element, because they made a big deal about it. It's going to be Geralt and these couple other people who don't belong together and sort of don't get along, but clearly have this link to each other and stuff. And that's going to be an important, emotional arc of the show.
All right, guys, are you excited for The Witcher? Did you prefer this trailer over the last, what are you gonna do for Halloween today? Nothing, it's a Thursday. They should just move Halloweens on Fridays.
Halloween should be like Easter, where it's just always on a weekend day or something.
Or like Thanksgiving, how it's always on the last Thursday.
You know, just like save the last day of October. It's like start November after October 30th and then drop the 31st back in when there's a good day for Halloween. It's not a Thursday. Come on.
You guys can subscribe to The Real Rejects, click that notification bell, and catch you guys soon.